You know when Spotify just nails that next song recommendation? Or how a chatbot actually seems to remember what you talked about 5 minutes ago? Well, that's not magic. It's all about finding things that, well, feel alike. And behind a lot of this incredible AI is this powerful open-source library called FAISS. So let's dive in and uncover this secret engine.
Okay, so to really get why FAISS is such a game changer, we first need to wrap our heads around this huge search problem that AI itself kind of created. It's a total shift in how we even think about finding stuff.
So here's the big question, right? A normal database is awesome at finding an exact match, like find user ID 123. Done. But what about finding a song with a similar vibe, or a sentence that means the same thing but uses different words? How on earth does an AI do that?
All right, let's break this down. On one hand, you've got your classic simple search, find user ID 123. Super easy. But on the other hand, AI has a totally different job. It takes concepts, like sentences or images, and turns them into a string of numbers. We call these vectors. So the phrases, AI is amazing, and artificial intelligence is great, while they look different to us, their numerical vectors are actually super close together in this, let's call it a meaning space. Now, here's the real kicker. How do you search through billions of these vectors to find the closest ones, like right now?
And that, my friends, is exactly where FAISS enters the picture. Faced with this massive similarity search problem, the AI research team at Meta built a tool specifically designed to solve it, and to do it with just incredible speed.
So, what exactly is FAISS? Well, it stands for Facebook AI Similarity Search, and it's basically a library that does one thing, and it does it ridiculously well. It finds things that are alike on a massive scale. You can think of it as the search engine for meaning itself.
All right, I know what you're probably thinking. Searching through billions of things has got to be painfully slow. And you'd be absolutely right, if you did it the dumb, simple way. But FAISS has some really clever tricks up its sleeve. Let's get into how it pulls off this speed. So the brute force way would be to take your search term, your vector, and compare it one by one to every single other vector in the whole database. With billions of items, that would literally take forever. It's just a non-starter for anything you want to happen in real time. So how does FAISS do it? Here's the core idea, and it's brilliant. Just imagine all your data is like a giant, chaotic library with billions of books. Instead of checking every single book on every shelf, FAISS first organizes the library into logical sections. Let's call them neighborhoods. Then, when you come in with a query, it really quickly figures out, okay, this book probably belongs in the sci-fi or fantasy sections. And then, this is the key, it only searches within those couple of sections. This one simple shortcut is what cuts search time from, maybe minutes down to milliseconds. Okay, so this whole strategy really boils down to two key techniques. First, that library analogy we just talked about, the technical term for that is an inverted file index, or IVF. That's what groups things into those neighborhoods. Second, to save a ton of memory and go even faster, FAISS does something called vector quantization. You can just think of it like compressing the data, kind of like turning a huge image file into a smaller JPEG. Now there's a trade-off here. You lose a tiny bit of perfect accuracy for a huge gain in speed. But for pretty much every AI application, finding something that's close enough almost instantly is way better than waiting forever for the perfect match.
So I know this might all sound a little abstract, but I promise you, you're using systems powered by this kind of tech every single day. Let's talk about where FAISS is actually showing up in the real world.
Honestly, the applications are, well, they're everywhere in modern AI. It's the engine behind search that gets meaning, not just keywords. It's what drives recommendation systems that seem to know your taste better than you do. It's in tools that can pull up a similar image in the blink of an eye. And it's absolutely crucial for giving large language models their memory, and even for spotting weird patterns to help with stuff like fraud detection.
Yeah, think about that Spotify playlist, your Discover Weekly, that somehow just gets you. That is similarity search, right there. Behind the scenes, a system like FAISS is finding songs whose vectors are huddled really close to the vectors of songs you already listen to and love.
Or what about this? You drop an image into Google to find visually similar ones, right? What's happening in that split second? A tool like FAISS is taking the vector for your image and racing through millions of others to find the closest visual matches. It's wild.
And this is a massive deal right now. For a chatbot like ChatGPT to have a conversation that actually makes sense, it can't just rely on its old training data. It needs to pull in relevant, fresh information on the fly.
FAISS is the key that lets these models instantly search huge libraries of knowledge to find the right context. It's basically what gives them a powerful long-term memory.
Okay, but here's a really important point we need to be clear on. FAISS is incredibly powerful, for sure, but we need to understand what it is and what it isn't.
So here's the bottom line. FAISS is a library. It's like a super high-performance engine, but you still have to build the rest of the car around it. A managed vector database, on the other hand, is the whole car. It comes with the storage, the APIs, the dashboard, the whole shebang. So FAISS gives you insane control and raw speed, which is awesome for research and custom projects. But vector databases are built to be easier to use right out of the box in a production system.
So as we start to wrap this up, what's the big picture? What does all this really mean? Well, it's about a pretty fundamental change in how we find and interact with information.
I think this quote really just says it all. In this new age of AI, where pretty much anything, text, images, even sounds, can be turned into one of these numeric vectors, FAISS is the tool that lets us search not just for words, but for meaning.
And that kind of leaves us with this one final, fascinating thought. Think about it. For nearly all of human history, finding information was all about matching exact words. But now we have tools that can search for abstract ideas, for feelings, for similarity. So the question is, what completely new and maybe more profound questions are we all going to start asking?